Howdy goons, this is the Ayaneo Pocket Air Mini, and out of the gate, Ayaneo was hyping this thing up. It plays GameCube and PS2 and it's only $100. I thought for sure this was way too good to be true. Just 3 years ago, the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus barely did it, and it was 150 smackaroonies. But this just goes to show how rapidly this space is moving. 3 years ago's $150 is today's $100. It's real, and they're right. It plays GameCube and PS2. Quick note, I paid for this device out of my own pocket. If you're curious about my experience ordering through one of their crowdfunding campaigns, check out the video on the end card. I do go over it a little bit, but not in full detail here. Also, if you have a game you want me to test, comment it, and I'll make a video where I test all your games. I don't buy a ton of these handhelds, and they don't send me any, so I get to spend a little bit more time with the handhelds than some of the, bigger channels do. So if you want me to test specific games, we can totally do that. Anyway, power like this comes with a catch. GameCube and PS2 for $100, a finger just curled on the monkey's paw. The first catch is that it won't run absolutely everything. I wasn't expecting it to run much, but it does run way more than I thought it would. Black runs terrible, as you might expect, but Okami, surprisingly, runs great. Also, some stuff that I would think would run perfect doesn't, like Puzzle Quest on PS2. I have no idea why it looks so horrible. It doesn't make sense that it runs so poor, but Okami, Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3, Budokai 2, Budokai 1, and Final Fantasy X are all fine. It's probably just because these are more popular and receiving the extra attention that they need. There's like a billion versions of Puzzle Quest, so I don't think anyone's really trying to keep that one up to date. You can play it on PSP or DS, and even the sequel is on DS. You'll be surprised by how many games it can run, as long as you're fine with the second catch. In my case, it played everything I tested to a playable to perfect extent, but they will have to be played at native resolution, with some being in max power mode, which means only 4 hours of battery life. The games that do run in balanced mode, you can expect a little closer to 6 hours, which is pretty good still. You'll also need to run pretty much everything on GameCube with OpenGL. Everything I played on PS2 was fine with Vulkan though. It has a lot of surprise perfect games, even Ratchet games run better than I thought they would, and playing those on PC typically needs you to increase the EE cycle rate to run well, so I seriously thought they just wouldn't even start. The games that I couldn't run were Black. It's 20 FPS. Even on native resolution. Ratchet Deadlocked was about half speed in the beginning, but it evened out after a little bit. Maybe it could be tweaked to run a little bit better. It didn't even run the best on original hardware, it did have some slowdowns. I don't think you'll get God of War or Devil May Cry 3 to work well here, but I'm down to try them. PS2 games that I got to run were the Dragon Ball Z series, Okami, Disgaea, and Russ from Retro Game Corps said that he was able to play Final Fantasy X, Katamari, Kingdom Hearts, and other popular games just fine. Many PS2 games have PSP ports or GameCube ports, so maybe those will run better for you. The PSP ones will definitely run better. For GameCube, you can expect the low-power games to run well. Surprisingly, Resident Evil 4 maintains its 30 FPS, its cap on the GameCube, on max performance mode. Mystic Heroes, another Warriors game from Koei Tecmo, ran better for me than on the RP3 Plus. I forgot to mention Samurai Warriors 2 surprisingly ran well on the PS2. And WarioWare was just fine, but the latency makes it a little bit harder. Tech Dweeb and Russ both played Mario Kart Double Dash just fine. All of the low-power GameCube games should be just fine. I didn't actually encounter any GameCube games that I couldn't run at full speed when using native resolution, so there is still a sub-native backup if your fave doesn't work. I think if you go in with low expectations, you'll be very much surprised. GameCube and PS2 aren't the main systems I would get this for. They are an incredibly nice bonus, though. The real power of the handheld is its ability to be an awesome all-rounder. Everything below PS2 and GameCube runs no problem. Just make sure you run Dreamcast, N64, PSP, and Saturn in their own standalone apps, not with RetroArch cores. I like to think of it as a Linux-based handheld, but better. Linux handhelds can run a bit of DC, a bit of N64, and a bit of PSP, but this runs all of those without compromise and even has extra room for fast forwarding. If you upgraded from a Linux-based handheld and don't mind that it doesn't play the entire library of GameCube and PS2, you'll be fine. It still runs a lot, though. Despite being the same price as the RGDS, it even runs DS games better. It has enough power for Melon DS, which is the better emulator and has retro achievement support. And before you ask, yes, Pokemon Black and White 2 runs fine. It's a single screen device though, so you'll still need to mess around to get the screens how you like them. That or deal with screen swapping with a button. It's not ideal, but hey, neither is the RGDS. Maybe Ambernick should put a little extra 50 into the hardware. Shooting for 100 or less wasn't really it. You had that extra screen, y'all. You need to give yourself a little room. Like I said, this thing is capable of a lot more than you think it might be. Then again, I have the 3GB RAM model. Speaking of surprises, I played Roblox on it. I want to play Dandy's World in public lobbies with it, but it's good for some solo runs to grind out some ichor. But that means it can handle Android gaming. Streaming is possible as well via Moonlight and Artemis, but no Game Hub, not enough RAM. All your Pixel systems will run perfect as you'd expect by now. The screen is a big 4.2-inch screen that's 4x3, so while this gets compared to the Cube a lot, its screen is actually better suited for a wider variety of games. The 4-inch screen on the Cube has the same width as the 4.3 35XX devices, so everything besides GB, GBC, and Pico 8 are going to be bigger on here. Not to say that those are small on it, but just saying if you get this, it won't replace your Cube XX entirely. You're going to have bigger screens on the Cube XX for GB, GBC, and Pico 8. Everything else will be bigger on the Pocket Air Mini. PSP is a little smaller than original hardware, about an inch less wide, so like I think it's 25% less total screen surface area, but it's still much better than it is on the Cube, which is almost microscopic. It also has more power than the Mangmi Air X, but of course the Mangmi screen is going to be larger and better suited for PSP. These two examples were specialist system examples. You only buy a 1:1 screen for Game Boy, Pico 8, and internal resolution SNES. You only get a 16:9 budget handheld for PSP. The Pocket Air Mini isn't a specialist device. It's an all-rounder, and it's pretty damn good at it. Battery life is pretty stellar, 4 hours on PS2 with max power mode running, but much closer to 10 hours on Pixel systems. Sleep mode only consumed 1% of the battery over 8 hours. It's a pretty big battery, 4500 milliamps. The form factor is decent, and the ergonomics are very good. The Cube is still better because the booty's a little bigger, but the PAM fits in pockets. Not women's jeans or skinny jeans though. The only ergonomics issue I have is that the system isn't tall enough for the analog stick used to be the best. The Cube has better spacing for that. With a short height like this, the bottom needs to wing out more like a controller. It's fine though. Build quality is outstanding. If this is what every Ayaneo device feels like, I totally get why people order from them. This is the best feeling system I've ever had from one of these companies. Keep in mind though that I've only used Anbernic handhelds and the RP3 Plus. This beats both of those in terms of feel. It's solid, doesn't creak or bend. I was getting creaking with the RP3, and it has a real weight to it. It's not heavy, it just feels like it's packed to the brim with components. Like, they made optimal use of the limited space. Like when you pick up a first-party controller compared to a Mad Catz controller, there's a very clear difference in weight. Aesthetically, it's an Ayaneo device for sure. It 100% fits their design philosophy. It's a good-looking handheld. Unfortunately, it came with terrible color options. Black and grayish. Wow, it's like choosing whether you want to be stabbed or shot. The buttons are all silent to very quiet. The D-pad especially is very interesting. It glides smoothly and feels buttery, just incredibly smooth all around. The sizing of everything is good except for the analog sticks and the backseat buttons, which are both too small. Small sticks make sense because it needs to fit into your pocket, and you can remove them and swap them for bigger ones that you find online, which I recommend you do if you want to play shooters. But the backseat buttons are almost as small as the Switch 1 Joy-Con buttons. The spacing is better, but I still accidentally hit X when jumping, and accidentally enabling turbo and GBA. The Cube's backseat buttons are still the biggest that I've had on a retro handheld. The bumpers are a little thin, but they work, and being smaller made more effective use of space, because we get full triggers in exchange, and both the sticks and triggers are Hall effect, and they glide extra smooth. There is a little bit of an issue with my unit though. The right trigger, when it goes back to its resting position, there's a little bit of a click that happens, and it's annoying that I notice that it's there, but I mean, it doesn't affect it at all, and it's just the right trigger, and it's a very slight click. There are also 2 hidden bumpers. Now speedrun all of the other features. USB-C 18-watt fast charging, headphone jack, downfiring speakers, womp womp, micro SD card slot, mic, Ayaneo button for using the blade menu or hold to go to the Ayaneo front end. It sucks, don't use it. Home button, select and start are single unit, which sucks. Make sure you unmap quick quit from RetroArch and other emulators because some default to using select and start pressed together and you will press it by accident. Analog sticks are RGB and actually looks good because of the receded sticks. The light illuminates the dome and it just looks really, really nice. Single unit volume buttons, power button, large exhaust ports, which is a must on an Android, and it has a fan that when maxed has a bit of a whine, but it's not loud enough to be picked up by the mic. Honestly, your game is probably going to be loud enough to go over it. Lastly, no accelerometer, so no WarioWare Twisted or Kirby Tilt and Tumble womp 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 womp. Operating system is Android 11, so it works like you'd expect. Backlight brightness is a drop-down menu from sliding down from the top, slide up from the bottom to dismiss the app. Android means your emulation will have a longer latency too, about 63 milliseconds, which is triple of what Linux-based handhelds are. It's not something you'll notice in most games, but no one really mentions it. I guess it's just common knowledge. But yeah, it's not ideal for timing-sensitive stuff like WarioWare and Rock Band unless you're timing a little bit early. But if you're playing rhythm games, you're probably playing original hardware anyway. It's really the only reason I keep my Vita around. Ayaneo's front end sucks. It doesn't recognize games in folders, which means you'll have to make CHDs of all your disk-based systems or you'll go crazy from the lack of organization. Just use your preferred front end. I don't use one because I've had to set up a lot of handhelds and I want to get into the games ASAP. Setup is a total pain. It's your standard Android experience. You have to do your basic Android setup, then download your emulators, add games, set up the emulators, download your RetroArch course, set up RetroArch. Then if you use a front end, you have to go through all the systems and add your folders. Can't forget to log into Retro Achievements on 10 different apps. I know my Retro Achievements password better than my own banking password now, so yeah, it sucks, not ideal. It really sucks dealing with it after having such a good time with the Shu 20V32, which came set up with a special launcher. Ayaneo's Blade menu is super convenient. Being able to switch performance mode on the fly is something I do a lot, and it's very quick and easy here. Now some issues. There was a rumor that chipsets were bait and switch. They were not. The chipset that was shipped with the system has the same performance as the promised chipset. They both scored the same on the 3D Marks wildlife test. Next, some people have received devices that will not power on. Another told me that theirs played just fine at first, then it shut off never to power on again. I am feeling like an Xbox 360 owner right now. I'm terrified that I'm going to wake up and my system won't turn on, it's going to red ring or something. This was very recent, so I have no idea how they're doing with support right now. This is an Ayaneo device. They announced the device a month before the crowdfunding campaign starts. The campaign ends a month after it launches. They start manufacturing 2 weeks after that. Then shipping is through 4PX, which takes 2 weeks minimum to ship. Bare minimum 2-month wait for a Ayaneo device if you're doing it through the crowdfunding campaign. Thankfully, backers have all been sent out. If you get it through the site, you will not have to wait as long as I did. Next controversy with them, the super early bird portion of the crowdfunding campaign only lasted the first week of the crowdfunding campaign. This meant that after that point, all paid normal prices. So when the website pre-orders opened the early bird price, you can imagine people weren't happy because it was cheaper on the website than it was through their backing campaign. I don't recommend backing their campaigns, unless you can be one of the first people to do it. Then there's some more hardware problems. People say there is ghosting. I don't personally see it. Maybe I have stupid eyes. Another person has had light bleed. It's clear that Ayaneo was in a rush to get these out, and with rushing comes hardware problems. If you buy from Ayaneo, you're going to have to expect these issues, and that sucks, because they like to portray themselves as the ultra premium company. They like to dress them up as the Chanel of handhelds. One final warning, and that's do not open the hard case they sell inside your house until you air it out. The smell made me and my wife feel sick. I got a headache, and I was feeling like I might puke. People say it's normal for cases that are rushed out to be like that, so I guess open all cases you get outside. But yeah, I opened this up and immediately my entire room smells like a factory now. It's actually pretty awful. So open, sorry, I'm trying not to die. My favorite feature though is that it does come with milk. I don't have to go shopping for it. Maybe my dad will come back. Apparently the case makes you sick. It has chemicals. I've heard a lot of people say that. Really? It just smells really heavily of chemicals. God, that actually reeks. Oh my god, did they put like crazy purple knockout gas in it? Did I just get anthraxed? Oh my god, that is terrible. You know what? No, that one smells like an import shop. Like when you walk into like an incense shop and you smell like, oh my god, why does all of this smell bad? So who is this handheld for? 4 kinds of gamers. The first is the millennial dad gamer who wants to play Dreamcast, N64, and Saturn. This plays those great, and the aesthetics and build quality will really appeal to old folks like me who remember when things were built to last. However, it's not very Game Boy coded, and millennials really love their Game Boys. The second is PSP enjoyers who play more than just PSP. You don't want to get a dedicated 16:9 device, but it's still large enough to play PSP nicely. But also everything else looks good on it. This is me. I like PSP, but I also like everything. Third is people who want an upgrade from a Linux-based handheld. They want more system options, they want Android Sleep, they want good build quality, but they don't want to spend $200 on the Retroid Pocket 5 that everyone says is good and awesome and amazing. They might also be a brokey. This is also me. The fourth and final would have to be handheld collectors who like having as many doohickeys as possible. That are people who are equally curious like me about what Ayaneo is like. This was their first budget handheld, so who knows if they'll ever do another one. Although this is their best-selling device now, if you can't afford better, this might be your only opportunity. If you have an RP4 or higher, you don't need this. Do not buy it. You are fine. Other than the ergonomics are better on it. It will add nothing to your gaming options. If you want GameCube and PS2, get a Retroid Pocket 5 or maybe an Odin or a Thor. If you want 3DS, get the Thor. If you don't like Ayaneo and what I've said about them thus far, then you just shouldn't get one flat out. I think the Megami Air X is perfectly fine, just that it's less capable of GameCube and PS2, so you really would be getting it just for PSP, DC, and N64. That's it. I like it. I think it's a good handheld. It just sucks that it's an Ayaneo device because they can be a little poopy head sometimes, and I don't like that. I'll be back with this handheld in a month or so with an update, so make sure to stick around for that. I'm also going to be making other videos on it. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to tip your Overlord. I take likes, subs, and 7 magical orbs to wish back my strength so I can rule over my homeworld with an iron paw. Also, members, for just $1 a month, you can become a stinker and get emotes next to your name, or emotes you can use in the chat and comments, or you can send a super as a thank you. Either way, it gets your name in the credits like Dragon Fanatic, Astro Pixie YT, Linky, and Willy P. I'll see y'all later. I have to air out my office. It smells like death and plastic, and I would really like to get the plastic smell out. Bye!